We're on?
Yeah, we're on.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newmarket Planning Board Workshop for of Tuesday, December 9th. It is 6:01. I'll call the meeting to order. First is the approval of the, I will appoint Eric, because we'll be reviewing the meeting minutes of the draft workshop. And that will give us a quorum, correct? Yep. Excuse me?
You do Bill too. Get two.
Oh, and I'm going to appoint Bill as another alternate. So you'll be serving for Zach, and Bill, you'll serve for Jane. Thank you. We know Scott won't be with us, and they will need a council appointment. Well, I might be appointing for someone else.
Yep. Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Bill, you'll be serving for Jamie this evening.
Jane's on her way out.
Oh, she is? Boy, I'm knocking you off. All right. We'll take care of that in a minute. Oh, so I can appoint you for Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are officially appointed for Michael. So, hi, Jane. Nice. Are there any, I'll let Jane get settled in. Does anyone have any changes on the draft of the minutes for the workshop? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the draft workshop of November.
Okay, motion by Eric. Is there a second? Second. Second by Jeff. Sorry, Jane. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, let me transfer the meeting over to Bart to review the draft economic development chapter.
Like, just get this loaded up. And we'll get going.
I realize I got noted as late in the minutes.
Oh, yeah. Demerit for you. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, members of the Plan Board. Bart McDonough, Plan Director for the town. And today's review is of the Newmarket Economic Development chapter of the master plan, updated master plan. So a little history. The last time this chapter was updated was in 2011. It was pretty comprehensive and a lot of work was done into it. It had a lot of resources and data, kind of guiding the town on where it should go for the next 10 years. And then it kind of highlights, what the town has done right, and wanting to capitalize on those successes. In the past, kind of economic development activity is the revitalization of downtown, mill buildings, exploring ideas through different TIF districts on, what to put in those areas, what to incentivize. So this town has a great history of kind of trying to figure out where to go, and a lot of dedicated volunteers on, how to promote economic activity, improve the tax base, or at least help it out, and in such a limited area, in such a kind of geographic hard area or isolated area. Hey, Jamie. We're gonna put you in the corner today. Throughout this update, we had this is our working group, so I want to take time to recognize them and their dedication to this. So we had Abby Bachman, who was a planning board member at the time, Diana Feinberg. She was a new resident. She came from a planning background down in New Jersey, and then also Doug Spiker. He also has a kind of a business background, but he's also very heavily involved in the arts, culture, and tourism committee. Mike Hoffman, property owner, part of the master plan subcommittee, also part of the transportation committee as well, business owner. myself, and then SRPC and Val. Thank you, Val. Like all of our master plan chapter updates, so we all started with the visioning surveys, and these were the kind of highlighted questions we asked, and these are just kind of the top answers that came through that process. So here we saw what types of business we want to see in downtown. A lot of answers: affordable grocery store, more retail, as you see enumerated here, and then 3, bakery. And again, this is all qualitative data, so we're just taking, what was said most often. And then challenges: parking, high rents, low visitor access. So I think for that, that could be maybe wayfinding as well. Lack of parking, which kind of relates to number 1. So can make some correlations there. And the last question was actions that would promote growth and enhance downtown business. And we see investing into the downtown's built environment, development of areas suitable for new businesses and business expansion, and improve walkability and access to different businesses, and then promotion of local businesses, cultural institutions, and also promote tourism through town events. We did a visioning workshop. We defined what is economic development with the Newmarket context, and we kind of wanted to understand what and where. So where could we put small businesses, mixed use, industrial areas, diverse business in downtown, spaces for public gathering, and better utilizing transportation networks, specifically on northern part of 108. We also did a Newmarket business survey in addition to the master plan visioning survey and events. And these are additional questions, kind of get a temperature of how the business community is feeling in Newmarket. So again, what are the 3, some of the questions, for example, is how long you've been here, what led you to Newmarket, what are your biggest challenges, and what do you see as the largest opportunities that the town has? Again, this is the vision, so from an economic lens. And, it's just to read verbatim for the folks at home. Town Newmarket should work to retain and support its current businesses while providing opportunities for economic growth and activities which will strengthen the town's economic base, provide employment for residents, and enhance its position in the regional economy. So again, kind of supporting what we have here and where are those opportunities to attract new opportunities. So like all the other chapters, we have our goals. So those are vibrancy, affordability, accessibility, resiliency. And so first we start with vibrancy. It's to support development and retention in a diverse mix of businesses, including retail, restaurant services, creative enterprises, and industry that reflect Newmarket's unique character and history and contribute to a robust year-round economy. And then the foster business community that is actively engaged and invested in revitalization efforts that contribute to placemaking initiatives and collaborates with the town. So again, really emphasizing and trying to leverage our downtown village area, try to bring back or enhance cultural events that we have in town, and then really showcase the town's history, its character, and its people. This is really focused on people. So what Newmarket can offer is what it has in great resources, its people, its culture, and then also its recreation. So again, from a vibrancy angle. And connectivity. improve the local regional transportation trails and parking to be better connect residents, visitors, jobs, and community spaces. So again, a lot of what we've been hearing from the community is there's parking issues in our economic areas. Our transportation networks are declining, at least from a public transportation standpoint. We don't have that anymore, or at least it's a limited access. There are efforts to improve that. So again, one of the major concerns is, wayfinding. How do I get to where I want to go, and how do I park, or where could I park, especially in those busy hours. The next one is to ensure that development prioritizes inclusive design to make public and commercial areas accessible for all. So we have a 300-year-old town. So it's really quirky, and it's hard. It's challenging from an accessibility standpoint. So how do we, as we do grow, accommodate for all? And kind of segues to that. So accessibility not from a physical environment, but also from a workforce and business support. So how can the town promote, be supportive in expanding business opportunities, and also supporting the workforce in town? So how can be a key partner in doing that? And then also, as we move in time, everything's becoming more digitalized. So, how do we make key investments in that to make sure that Newmarket is not left behind? Affordability. So to promote affordable housing, commercial lease options, jobs opportunities, meet the needs for residents and businesses. Again, understanding, working with partners, and how can we be creative that provide spaces for these types of uses. And again, one of the overarching goal is how do we reduce tax burdens in the town, for the tax base, especially property owners and local and business owners. So again, what can the town do to create an environment that maximizes, I don't use that, broadly, but how do we maximize the land, utilize the land best to maximize tax relief? So again, improving the tax base is kind of the goal point there. And then our last one is resiliency, diversifying the local economy, ensure that multiple sectors and industry support the local economy to bolster resilience to disruptions, encourage sustainable business practices to provide key support that aid long-term planning and prepare for the community for economic change. So again, how do we keep up with the times? How can we anticipate change? So that's, better understanding regional trends, national trends, local trends, and how can we, as a community, attract and support our economy. So improve our economy or attract people into our local economy, and also how can we make sure that we can move forward in a prosperous way. Again, in front of you too, you have action items and goals and action items, details that we can go over as we go over the chapter. And so 10 goals with 42 action items, some of them vague or broad, some of them a little more specific. But I think the point there is this action, while some specificity definitely is needed, but these are more overarching goals. And then as you have some specific items, action items to start the process, and then that can lead to the snowballs from there. So our next steps, again, we'll after we take your comments, incorporate them, we'll be coming back in the first half of next year, around January, February, for final edits and comments, and then we look for public hearing and adoption between March and April. So with that, I figure like we have been doing for the past chapters, we can go through the chapter itself and the implementation matrix. But before we do that, is there any, broad overarching questions or comments?
Shall we just go around? Jeff, anything particular? Jane? Eric?
No.
Bill?
I'll make one comment, I guess. I didn't see a lot about discussion about the tax base, trying to expand the tax base. I thought a lot of the, let me back up, I thought a lot of the language in the discussion in there was good. I thought much of it we already do, and we're doing a pretty good job with collaborating businesses, but I didn't, and maybe some of that was even kind of repeated in the different sections, the collaboration piece. But the main thing, I didn't see a lot of discussion about what do we do to try to expand tax base, and that's a big nut to tackle, but I just think we need to focus a little more on that.
Yeah.
Want to hold Bart? Jamie?
Nothing specific at the moment.
Okay. So I want to just play off of that because that was my number one kind of takeaway from this. It seems very community, arts, downtown focused as opposed to where really is our tax base being generated cost effectively. There's, the industrial park, opportunities on 152 or the corridors. For this, really, what's the economic driver of the town? And where do we need to focus as far as the master planning and the goals and objectives to really be able to grow this tax base cost, in a beneficial, way. Great chapter, lots of information. It seems to be very repetitive with some of our other chapters from the perspective of the, again, the arts, the culture, the recreation, and I mean, it could be, is recreation, Newmarket's new economy, but if that's the case, how is that driving the tax base? And is it all going to be focused downtown? I'm not sure that's a reality. It's really interesting to see some of the statistics where, again, we think about the tax for this chapter, because I think the history is the economic development chapter, I think, has very much always been focused on how do we deal with growing the tax base or offsetting the expenses of the town to stabilize the tax rate. And it's really interesting to see in the statistics the projected growth of the government workers or the school workers. That was kind of an interesting takeaway as to, where the jobs are in Newmarket. Kind of a scary takeaway because obviously most of our tax burden is employee driven. So to not see or kind of get a feeling of how are we going to grow these other industries in town if we have the ability to do that. So, I think I'm just playing off of, Bill's comment because that was my takeaway from the, great information and everything, but I just don't see the action items to kind of, address more economic development, and maybe it's a historic perspective of economic development. It just seems like we've gone too far from one side to the other. Okay, Bart,
to
we'll let you have the
respond
floor.
to that.
I can just
Yeah, go ahead.
and I think it's okay to also talk about our limitations, our challenges.
Yeah.
Because, why it's been difficult. I mean, we don't have the big road network, that drives the traffic. We don't have large areas of land, we are challenged, but if there was any way to move the needle, how would we do it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got an undeveloped lot down at the industrial park, correct?
Sure do, yeah.
Trying to get some of the approved subdivisions moving forward or modified, in growing this whole tax base. It is, just something that I think that really through this chapter needs to be kind of front and center. And even just even if it's about the photos as to where this chapter, the feel of where the chapter is to go. The post office, I mean, there's a prime redevelopment opportunity that I think would drive the downtown, economics. So just a takeaway, Bart, to kind of, I guess, where was the committee more on not focusing on some of those opportunities or concerns?
Yeah, I think I think you put all the chapters together, you get a better picture. So in this, while we don't have a specific, it could be more detailed, build off Bill's point, our limitations, but we do have opportunities. So it's just a question on, does the town want to promote those opportunities or go through that? So for instance, if there is land out there that could be developed, we're going to do it in a responsible manner, it would need infrastructure. So is the town willing to have that conversation to expand infrastructure to those areas that could be developed to expand tax space? You do see a lot of this cultural redevelopment of the downtown. I think the planning board and the town council have done a great job so far in trying to expand those opportunities in that area of town. So I think in conjunction with this chapter and the future land use, you have a better picture of where the town should spend its energy in discussing those opportunities.
Is there not a fair amount of it in this part?
In the goals?
Yeah,
For amount of,
like things that talk about expanding the tax base.
I think with if I don't want to put words in your guys' mouth, but it's vague, I guess.
Yeah, I think
so
that's.
how do you actually do that? And
It says it in score tip district. Yeah, try to hire a person
yeah,
that works in economic development planning.
and yeah. So I
there seem like a pathway. Should look great right away, and there's different thoughts on it, and
There are.
what specifics can you need?
Does it make more sense to incorporate this? Well, you don't get the feel when you read through the chapter that is really that the focus of the chapter is, to Bill's point, to deal with the tax issue. That's not the takeaway you get.
Yeah, I agree with that. But to me,
And should it be, I guess, is a question of the board? Or
think
where
it
was the
should be.
committee coming from?
my take is that it should be. I mean, that economic development is expanding the tax base. The challenge is, I think like Bart said, the infrastructure. When you have the lot at the end of North Main Street, it's great if that gets developed. That doesn't move the needle at all. We need a lot of commercial tech development to move the needle, and I just don't see the infrastructure in town. And once you get out of the downtown, there's no water and sewer, for the most part.
And maybe it isn't, to say economic development is all commercial based, maybe that's not it, I mean, there's many instances where the growth in the tax base, it could be that we are a residential town, right? So what, to your point, Bart, about future land use, are we thinking about our future land use to grow the tax base for economic development? Maybe it is, focusing on like the outside of town, like on 152, where we determine that, you know, it is going to be residential development, and does that need to be a TIF to get? Or is there enough incentive that a developer can come in to make the numbers work, and will it provide a positive impact on the tax base? Right? It doesn't, I'm not necessarily saying that economic development has to be industry or commercial. It's, you know, it's more, for lack of a better word, what is Newmarket's industry? Right now, and it has been for many years, since a lot of the industry has left, is residential.
Right, yeah, it's
But how do we
public
ensure
sector
that?
jobs in residential.
Yeah, in public sector jobs. Which does, I mean, it's not, love all our employees, but it doesn't, you know, how do we sustain this, or more importantly, how do we account for the projected growth and the cost of that?
What about the gateways, Bart? Is there anything going on with, like Val
So-
mentioned 152. I mean, that's the discussion of development out there, the big plans and everything.
And
There's
it's
no
all-
water and sewer.
But
and
it's
you're in
all
the
for
aquifer
sale. Are
district.
you getting any calls on that? Because
I
that's
have.
been on the market now for a few, you know, months.
Yeah. It was my understanding it was under agreement. I'm not sure if it came out, but I think it is under agreement. And I had received calls.
But
The gravel?
yeah, but is it because they want to process materials, or are they asking different questions? 'Cause
They're asking different questions. So to your point, Eric, what's the town want? You know, in the future, what's the town thinking? I talk about the gateway, you know, because it's, you know, that's what towns. I basically tell them the town's has a difficult time throughout the years trying to attract some sort of development there under the current zoning, and is looking at opportunities to revisit that and still having those discussions. So that's basically what I tell them is like, we haven't seen anything besides being active gravel pits, and I haven't, at least under, you know, my time here, I haven't seen any type of proposal there.
Well, you can't do much because it's in the
Yeah.
aquifer district too. And
Yeah, that too.
septic systems aren't good in
Yeah.
the aquifer district.
Which brings the point of the TIF.
So
Yeah.
if you think of just the New England economy, right? Big happenings in Massachusetts regarding property taxes, right? In the city of Boston, what's happening there. And then the other big thing you read about is AI, data centers. Could there ever be a company that we could talk to that would be interested in building a data center in Newmarket?
I don't think we'd want that.
I'm sorry?
Down-
I'm just talking out loud, so if I'm off the mark here,
Yeah.
just say, be quiet.
Yeah. So I haven't had those conversations yet, but they're, from my understanding, resource intensive.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
I think the cost of our power
Yeah. Would
in New Hampshire
skyrocket.
would be surprising to me that you'd see a data center.
Yeah, it's cheaper here than it is in Massachusetts, and I have a home in Rhode Island, which is outrageous. So, as you know, I read through the stuff last night, and I'm like, you know, just trying to think of what the economy is and where things are going. If we want to keep this a bedroom community and looking at the demographics of high-tech people in the area, is that something? I don't know. Or do you sit there and say, I want to attract a company that makes products that would go in a data center? You know, just that whole philosophy. And I'm just thinking out loud, you know, everyone, I love all the breakfast places, I love the lunch places, believe me. I love the library, I love that small town feel here. But if we're talking about economic development, the office park is perfect for that, maybe over by 152. But if we can't do a data center, maybe you try to engage with companies that make things for a data center.
So, what I think was just very New Hampshire specific, emerging industry is the biomedical. So what they're doing in Manchester, bioengineering basically. So,
But I would come back to you and say, what just happened in Watertown, Massachusetts, where they just put 2 buildings up for auction because they overbuilt biomedical.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm just
Yeah.
just looking at what are you reading, what's happening. I think the big issue in Boston regarding the property taxes is gonna be a big, huge thing, because the citizens of Boston aren't gonna take it, and there's a bill at the Massachusetts Senate that says, hit corporations.
And then
That's
I have
Massachusetts.
clients where they're moving their whole companies out of Massachusetts
Yeah, no,
because of
it's
that.
Massachusetts way.
I guess if I could jump in. So I don't want to like sit here and say this business or that business, because I don't think that's totally in the
Right.
purview, and also we're probably not want to be the ones calling balls and strikes on that. I think there's a lot of stuff in here about barriers. Obviously, the accessibility, parking. It's a lot of people that commute outside of the Newmarket to get jobs. So I guess one big question is, are we trying to build a community that's more self-sufficient in the sense that people aren't really leaving to work? Because right now there's like 1,600 jobs, I think I saw somewhere on there, which is pretty sure not I think there's way more working adults than that. I didn't look at the, just trying to find it at the table, but because I don't know if you're going to go find a business that can all of a sudden put up 1,000 jobs quickly, right?
We don't have the land for
Yeah.
it either.
In this community, so.
But the only place it could be, might be the office park.
Yeah. So there's like I don't think it's realistic for us to say we're all of a sudden going to create enough industry of any type to employ all of the town's residents, nor is that, I think, a realistic goal in any town. We're also a little bit off the beaten path, so I don't know if certain industries that want access to highway and freight and other things like that would pick us over, say, like Peace area or for others. So I think you got to not try to be something you're not, and I think this talks a lot about the kind of opportunities in here, and maybe we can be a little bit better about the kind of intent, but I think some of that stuff is good, but I don't think that's realistic, especially with some of the feedback of the kind of slow intentional growth. So not to dismay like opportunities, but I just think some of that's unrealistic to say all of a sudden we're going to go have, whether it's a data center, biomedical. I don't think those types of developments are going to pop up overnight.
Right,
I
I think
don't
the
know,
thing,
yeah.
I think the thing that makes Newmarket a great little town is what causes economic development issues.
Right.
Is from a accessibility standpoint, we're in the middle of nowhere. For anybody that needs to ship anything anywhere, Durham's better, Dover's better, Exeter, Stratham, closer to the highways. It's why we're a nice little town, but it's hard to get companies to come here because it's expensive.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe, I don't know how accurate this is, but I feel like there are a lot of creative, industrious people that live in here, or maybe there's opportunities to grow the economic base, not in percentage of jobs per se, but in economic activity. You know, if someone's able to use AI or 3D printing or other kind of people think of as like future techs, where they're one person making a lot of economic activity, that I think does help the tax base in its own way versus, you know, a bigger building that's put up somewhere that doesn't have a lot of employees or stuff like that. So,
Well, and
I
work
think-
from home is.
and then people can work from home, and so that kind of reinforces the lack of, well, I'm not bothered about commuting 13 minutes out of town and back into town because I work, and then go spend money at the business in town because I want to walk down to the coffee shop on my lunch break. And so I think there's a certain realism there that we're going to be that way, and I think most people want to keep it that way while we can incentivize some of those opportunities. So.
Yeah, I think we need to invest money to, if we're talking about really changing the tax base, we need to invest money, be willing to invest money to do it, which is water and sewer.
Yeah,
That's
especially
my
some of those
take.
bigger developments,
And
that has
and-
to be done.
Right, and that, to me, that, that could be a TIF. I know we've had a bad experience with the last TIF we had, but, that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, but there were a multitude of reasons for that, but I think it was, obviously, we had an exceptional TIF with the downtown redevelopment,
Yes.
right? And the
Yes.
growth of the tax base there. The Blackbeard TIF, fortunately, the way it was written, there was no funding spent because no entity was ever acquired to
Right.
do the development. So I think it was a good TIF. It was not a successful TIF.
Right.
And the biggest issue there was access to the
Sure.
land.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It wasn't, it was literally about getting to the property.
And we could have all the companies in the world who
It
wanna-
wasn't like it was a lack of people interested. It
Oh,
was
no, I
the
agree.
cost of
And it was access,
Yeah.
and
It was
there was
the
no
cost.
access over the railroad bridge, and, yeah, absolutely. No, but even like 152 corridor, somebody wants to come in and do something in one of the gravel pits, until there's sewer there, nobody's ever gonna do it.
Do it.
They can't. You can't put a big building there with a septic system and an aquifer,
So,
So,
if I could,
yeah, go ahead, Bill.
self-defeating.
I just want to share what, came out of this, the Economic Development Committee that came up in 2012, 2016. Were you on?
Yeah, because we had a whole, we were working constantly, and then Steve
Yeah, we
stopped
spent
it.
a lot of time, and I think there was another effort prior to that, like 10 years before that, and we go
We
through
hired-
these cycles, but
Yeah,
in that effort, and I shared this with you already, but the goal was, if we could do something in one of these bigger lots that we have, what would be the highest assessed value that would be somewhat consistent with the town? And what rose to the top was assisted living facilities with a medical component.
or a point place, which we had the whole presentation. Why did that stop? Where was Steve on that? We paid consultants for it, and then it just kind of stopped.
And it was considerably different. I don't remember the numbers, but if regular industry, commercial was $10 a square foot, assisted living was like $20 a
Right.
square foot in assessed value. And it so that seemed, and plus you have all the additional units that you can get into a facility. So after all that, I think we ended up zoning that as an overlay district, right? In
Correct.
152 and 2 lots on
New Road.
New Road.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no marketing for the Wilson property to solicit that.
And those do have their own issues and costs, and we've seeing more of that now than we knew about in 2016 with the requirements for emergency care and things like that, and ambulance care. But it isn't, it has high assessed value, but it's not a warehouse, big box thing, and that drives a lot of truck traffic, that kind of heavy industry. It does seem to be a business or a need that's going to continue in the future. Now, there are new things coming out, biomedical and data centers and things that we weren't aware about in 2016, but that was a fair amount of effort, and that was the main thing that came out of that was we're going to get the highest assessed value type of facility. The assisted living was it, and even that it would have an impact. But I think we had some numbers. It was like a few $100,000 in tax revenue with a certain type of facility. Which is not nothing, but the other thing we realized was like we needed $50 million in new tax assessment to lower the tax rate by $1. That was back then. So you need $50 million assessed value to lower your tax rate by $1. So you need a lot of new tax base, which is another issue. But
So Bill, you thinking like something like Riverwoods in Exeter?
something along those lines. Not that big, not that kind of monstrosity, but something, half the size of that, a third of the size of that.
Well, the outflow of it was, I had, again, question for Steve, why did it stop, or why did the focus go away? With the Wilson property, the idea of the skilled assisted living, right, because that would have the lowest impact as far as traffic and everything. And then the idea of, don't really want to say a Riverwoods, but more of a Point Place out on 152 that had the components of the an assisted living with residential, some commercial, the commercial oriented to the residents in that area. And again, 2 consultants were hired. We had a presentation downstairs. Bart, you can remind me how many years ago, but then it just never moved forward. And you've got 2 issues, 2 situations there. We have town-owned property that is not contributing to the tax base that we bought as taxpayers how many years ago. And then we have opportunities of all this undeveloped land. And here we are where there were 2 large parcels that now, one has changed hands with the Rose property, and then the other one, are they gonna remain processing? That's such low tax,
Right.
assessed value coming in to, the community. So I guess it leads to the question, if we were to hire, this is for you, Bart, if we were to hire an economic development, if we were to support as a planning board, and through the master plan, to hire an economic, development planner, what would the increase of the tax base need to be to even support that position, to break even on the position?
That's a good question.
Right.
I can't answer that, but I think we have the ideas already. So it's just working towards that. I think so. That plan, the Gateway Initiative, if I'm correct, if that's what you're saying, that was 2020. I think it was presented. A couple hiccups along the way. Part of that, we focus on the North Gateway, which we successfully have done for at least started to, and then I think coming out of this HOP grant. We'll have some more zoning recommendations, some tools to really help calibrate that zoning for that area. If the town wants to see some type of rezoning at that.
I think the question was more directed towards, we put all the work in, we hired consultants, we came up with justifiable potential developments, and did change, the zoning in the one aspect, and identified the challenges in the other, meaning the overlay, the assisted living overlay district. Where do we go as a town to not just come up with the ideas or change the zoning, but to actually, make it happen?
Yeah. So
Because we're very
implementation,
good at
ideas,
having lots of studies, and we're good at that. We've been doing that. I've been on this board for probably 20 years now, and certainly all the work that the Economic Development Committee put in, and then it was just stopped.
But
Or the NCDC, or name all the different committees.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the 152 corridor, talking about any kind of development out there is a fool's errand until the town's willing to put in water and sewer.
Right.
It's
So,
never gonna happen.
and we identified that.
Yeah.
What would be the
But that was
cost
10
of that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time, there was discussion about a TIF.
Right.
And I believe the numbers were running. The TIF would never be able to pay for it. It would take a long time, you know what I mean? But we need to be willing to invest money if we want to increase the tax base. But it's not going to happen otherwise.
Yeah, so I guess, Bart, to me, based on all this, I think what we have currently is economic opportunities. I think this chapter does a good job of highlighting some barriers to their future growth. What I think is missing that I'm hearing here is where are those kind of bigger projects that don't exist yet, acknowledging some goals there, and you can use the 152 corridor kind of as the poster child for that, but something in here that kind of highlights expansion of the existing tax base, not just enhancement of the existing tax base, because this is kind of a lot of enhancement barriers to continued growth for existing people, entrepreneurs, stuff like that. So I don't know if it's worth putting something in there that, what's that next stretch goal for us, really, as economic development goes?
So I think we still have to revisit that conversation when we want out there on 152, and then once we understand what that is, then start putting the pieces together or putting the numbers together for the TIF, because I think Eric's right. It's got to be some kind of recognition from the town that it's going to make investment in this area to attract development, and wherever that ends up being. But I'm not sure the community is at what we want there yet. So I think before that needs to happen, But meanwhile, I think it'd be a parallel track to have that conversation. Okay, when town does decide on what it wants to do, this is how we're going to support it. This is how we're going to get to it. And then it's typically a tip. So having that conversation again.
So would then an appropriate goal in here to kind of highlight that desire in the master plan be something akin, more broadly, but the town should look at the next overlay district, or some kind of general words to say what's the next district that the town wants to look at for future economic development. Something to kind of give them that, hey, we want to look at this
Yeah.
We don't have to say exactly what it is, although
Right.
they might get the hints, right? But
I would say identify the barriers and possible solutions, right?
Would it be possible to get a rough cost of what it would be to extend sewer out there? I don't know,
Yeah.
if we need a pump sta- I mean, that
think we can.
could scare somebody too.
might be good for 3 months before the costs
Yeah.
change a lot.
Yeah.
And do we have the capacity to take on whatever?
Yeah, so I can get the capacity numbers easily.
Well, there was a
That could
build-out
be-
done when we
Yeah,
Right,
redid
with the pump
plant,
station.
Right.
Pump station.
Yep.
Well, there was a build-out done, treatment plant. They did a build-out
Yeah.
analysis.
And
I
that's being
believe it
updated too.
assumed that that corridor was developed.
right. And I think they're updating that too, with the new sewer master plan. So, Sean's doing.
Okay.
So we'll have updated numbers.
Sean could
there.
get us some rough
Yeah,
numbers, I would
yeah.
think.
And I'm sure that
He
depends
definitely
on
can.
what goes there, and because some things are more water intensive than others, or sewer intensive than others. Assisted living community probably has higher sewer demands than like a manufacturing plant, for example. I
Right.
would assume.
I think,
How far is it from,
They don't need a lot.
where's the sewer? The sewer and,
The-
I know the
At the
assisted
one,
Lovely
living.
you
Falls
assisted,
system.
but they drain down to the pump station, right?
Right,
yeah,
They pour-
gravity.
So
Right.
it's really about the pump station in Piscassic.
well, that pump station, yeah.
That was built,
would be
but that was
replaced.
built for the assisted living. That wasn't there before.
Right, but anything that gets developed beyond that, that pump station's gonna have to be replaced.
what I
That's
figured,
not a huge expense, but if that's a 3 month, say it's, how far is it out to, from there out to
The pits?
the end of the
Mile and a
pits?
half,
A
maybe?
mile to the end of the pits, or whatever?
Yeah, yeah,
That's-
basically to Ash Swamp Road.
About a mile and a half.
Yeah, that's $20 million to do a sewer line in there, $15 to $20 million.
It'd have to be
Assuming a nice
something
clean straight shot, or like the twisty road that is 152, and,
Right.
State Road.
or State Road and rivers like
Well, yeah,
Marshall.
but I mean, we gotta look at it. I really think
Right.
if we really wanna talk about something happening along that corridor, we need to support it with infrastructure. 108's a different story. The northern to 108 is, got the infrastructure, but it's got fairly small lots. Right, that doesn't support a whole lot of development. And the southern end is, there's not much left, right? I mean, you're down by the industrial park, then you got the golf course, the open space, the golf course, and you got the cemetery and Great Bay. There isn't a whole lot. So there aren't a lot of opportunities on 108 for significant investment.
That's more build out and redevelopment.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be curious as to what the total assessed value is that new development in the golf course versus the industrial park. I mean, we're struggling with the commercial versus residential, but if residential, in today's age with the value of homes, if it ends up being a more,
Is that our industry?
instead of industry, I mean.
No, is that our industry?
Is, right, is that our industry? That's-
I would guess that's pretty close.
Isn't that where you want to start? I mean, if you're looking to have an impact on the tax base and how much your taxes are, wouldn't you want to start with, like, what's the idea of reducing my taxes? I don't want you to reduce my tax bill by 10 cents. I want you to reduce it by $5,000 a year, $1,000 a year. Like, and you'd start with the impact you'd want to have on the taxes that you're collecting. Like, how many more do we want? So we can reduce people's taxes and look at the avenues to get there. And whether or not, like we were saying, like, is it viable? Is it really going to make a difference to put X, Y, or Z out on 152? Because it's not going to change the taxes I pay every year, really, right? So you'd want to look at the end goal of the reduction in taxes people pay, and then work back towards the type of development
Well,
that will help you
Or,
achieve that
or the
goal.
stabilization
And then
of
you-
the current.
Yeah.
But-
The only
Well,
way
it's
to
never
raise-
going to stabilize because it's going to go up with inflation every year. We're
Well,
going to pay
take
more
that
and
out of
more
it.
and more
Is
and
it-
more.
Right.
But,
Don't-
but we know from the projections of municipal school, the infrastructure of the town, that our taxes are gonna continually go up, right? But is there a way, and I'm not saying that they're not, like, death and taxes, right? Only thing we can be is guaranteed. So, but is there actions where, from the town perspective, that should be taken to try to stabilize it?
Right, so either way, you're trying to reach an economic goal. So you have to assess what that goal is and then work back towards the way to reach it, like
So-
how to increase that revenue.
Yeah.
And if it's assisted living or it's a data center, whatever it happens to be, or, you know,
To your
like,
point, running the numbers, is it,
yeah,
you know,
to,
do
to you
we-
run the numbers and like say, like our goal would be reduction in taxes of 10% or stabilization of taxes.
Yep.
That needs to be how much revenue per year increase. And then you would work that into your economic development plan.
So just rough figures, the golf course is like I would venture to say it's at least 35 million in assessed valuation. I ran it at just an average selling price and it was over 40. So if
probably
the
more
town
than
is, you know, assessing even at 90%
And
of
so was that 50 houses?
52.
And I think some of them, I did take a quick look at the industrial park, I think some of the highest assessed buildings are like 2.5 million, 2 million.
Right.
There's only 5, 6 in there.
Do you think, Val, do you think housing prices are going to be pretty stable over the next 5 years? Do you think they're going to continue?
No crystal ball on that.
Who knows anymore with that stuff?
I think the higher tax towns are going to see that the market valuations are, it's been through, right, the 3 recessions. It's, you know, are the higher tax towns gonna be more affected percentage-wise in values changing? You know, right, every dollar you pay in taxes is a dollar less you're paying in a mortgage.
Right.
Every dollar you're paying less in a mortgage is a dollar less, or 80% less than what your value of your house is, basically.
So you think they're stable or? I mean, I don't know. I just know.
I know, I mean-
In recent months, it's like housing market's slowed down a little bit, right?
Not the pricing per se.
I think the housing demand is not going to subside anytime soon,
Yeah.
which will keep prices at least
They put the pressure on prices.
plateaued.
There's
if
just
not.
not enough inventory.
But years ago, that the value of the home was not as high as the cost of 2 kids going into the school system. Like, that wasn't balancing out.
Right.
But I think now the value of the home is maybe greater than the cost.
No. No, the value of the home, yes, but the taxes
Yeah,
at
yeah,
home,
right.
the taxes at home pays, no.
Yeah.
You're at,
You're right.
Newmarket's at whatever, 18 or
19.
$19,000
Yeah,
to educate a kid.
You're right, you're
you know.
right. But it's closer.
Yeah, no,
It's not,
the numbers are bigger, they're just bigger numbers.
right.
Yeah, I think we got to understand our place in the region because we'll never be no big company is going to come in and put some big thing. We don't have those kind of business districts to support that. But regionally, we can be very advantageous. At the very least, we have a big regional pool where people will come from Lee or elsewhere to come spend their money in our town. And I think that is something, at least regionally, that we have.
And knowing what's been successful and expanding on that, which this totally addresses the downtown, and we know that that's an economic driver, and we have opportunities as well as challenges there. You know, but where is the most critical focus? Is it getting, you know, do we put our eggs into the post office basket? That's a huge opportunity
No.
there, you know?
It's a huge opportunity, but it's insignificant in the big picture.
But for downtown redevelopment.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
So I feel like that's not going to get solved tonight, and we have 6 minutes
No.
left.
No, right.
Yeah.
no.
So I guess
Okay.
But I think that's also to recognize that pattern of success, village that seems to be very successful.
Yep.
So,
And I
is
think
there,
we've made some nice changes to incentivize people to redevelop.
I think there's prime undeveloped land in the businessy, commercial-friendly part, like the downtown area, that's still sitting vacant. So I think until those start to see leverage, I don't see how something that's way out there, undeveloped, doesn't have any sewer, water, I just don't see that happening. So it's like, great, but it's kind of like they're easier fish to fry closer that can't be taken advantage of yet for whatever reason. So
again, this is a long-term plan too, so, do we strive for that, infrastructure expansion in those areas of town that we would like to see some change? Meanwhile, we capitalize on opportunities in the existing areas of commercial areas.
What do you think, Val, we get Bart any comments we may have that we can talk about in the next week or so?
Yeah, and I think that you've heard some great comments here. But great work by the
yeah,
committee.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is fabulous. I mean, every committee has been really providing some really great data.
It is very hard
And, you know,
It's very
It-
difficult.
to
yeah.
come up with a real actionable
uh-huh,
economic development plan.
yeah.
Yes.
But I think there's some great stuff in here that talks about, you know, the demographics, the age groups, the skill sets. And I think we need to use that to develop the economic plan, right? The other thing too is, you know, we want to try to attract businesses that are going to be here. So, and I word it that way because working from home, that really doesn't do a whole lot for us. But we're looking for people to go into four walls, right? To work there and then go home. Like, we want to make a base, a tax base. And the only way to make a tax base is to pick the right company or technology that requires people to go someplace, right?
But
To
we
build
can't pick
something.
that, they need to pick us.
No,
Yeah.
100%, but how
We
do
need to be
you do
accommodating.
that, right? So, the only reason I focus on the data center thing is because every data center is being built in flyover country.
Yeah.
It's not big, they don't want to go to big businesses, I'm sorry, big cities. They want to go to a place that's outside.
Because they need hundreds of acres to build.
Right, so, but keep that in mind though. So when we say, we're out there, you know, Newmarket, you know, we're not close, that's where some people want to go.
Oh, sure.
For
Sure.
corporations, right?
But nothing we have in any of our stuff would prevent somebody from talking to us about something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But how do you initiate the marketing to talk to someone about that?
I think
You know what I mean?
I think at the end of the day, if we can have more money made and stayed in this community,
Mhm.
I think that's probably a little bit easier than trying to get some of these huge,
Right.
whether it's the data center or even like, you know, that, but like other companies coming here.
You know
Because
what
they're looking
powers-
regionally, they're looking statewide, they don't really care, but the people live here, they care about here, they want to spend their time and money here, and I think that is,
That's a good
and then
point.
they want to build a business here.
I totally
I like
get
that.
But what kind of business can you get?
Going that, more money made here.
So
Right.
one idea that's kind of
TM.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
let's get
just,
Bart.
just a quick on that. So what we heard from the surveys, people want a grocery store, affordable one. What about a grocery store co-op? That means you buy shares of it.
Work
the
in
community.
Littleton.
Yeah, I mean, there's none in the seacoast. You only find them in Concord, Western New Hampshire. The community's actually investing into the business, so they have a stake in it, and they get a say on what's going to be in there. So again, a different model, but again, it's something that's wanted, needed, and maybe could work based on the geographic availability of the town.
Love it.
Mhm.
So
All right, any final comments for Bart? If
yeah.
not,
Not just send it to me.
okay. Thank you. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, so second.
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so take a couple minute breaks before we start, if anybody needs to. Good evening and welcome to the December 9th Planning Board meeting. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Bill, I will appoint you to vote on any action items this evening for Michael Scully. And otherwise, I think we have a full board, because I can't appoint anyone for the town council position. There's no members of the public here, so I will open public comments, and I will close public comments. First, number 3 on the agenda, the review and approval of the minutes of November 18th. Are there any modifications, corrections, or additions? Hearing none, I'll call a motion to approve.
Motion for the minutes.
Motion by Zach, is there a second? Second. Second by Jane, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there's no applications before us this evening, so under old new business, do we actually vote on the resignation?
No, he's just,
Okay, so,
yeah, so it's more of an appointment too.
okay, so under item A, so we have had one of our members resign, Michael Scully. That is a 3-year term, so it would be filling the remainder of his term until the next election. So this is basically would be an appointment for 3 months. I think we start, or 4 months, April 1st. Right. 3.5 months. So do I have a motion to appoint one of the alternates to fulfill Michael Scully's position?
I make a motion to appoint Bill or Siri.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Jane. Any further discussion on that motion?
Does Bill wish to be appointed?
Does Bill wish to be appointed?
Do you wish to be
Speech.
Take it on.
Are there
Bench.
yeah, off the bench?
Been an alternate long enough though.
Any nominations for other alternates to be considered at this time? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mhm.
3-1 and
We'll show that as unanimous.
Nope, I'm good with that.
Unanimous?
Very good.
Okay, Bart, you had some comments about establishing long-range planning subcommittee. Is
Yeah.
this something we want to talk about now, or wait till we get through master plan?
Maybe for next meeting, people think about it. I kind of mentioned this, or I did mention it at the last meeting. It's becoming more evident that such a group should come into existence. I think it'd be very beneficial for the town, especially the last discussion we just had from economic development, but also from all the other things. So I would see this committee as being kind of the stewards of the master plan and making recommendations to the full board, or at least providing updates, keeping us on track, and having these kind of 10,000-foot meta discussions, as well as where the town wants to go as we move through space and time. So, I don't think you have to make a decision now, but I think everyone should just think about, is this such a committee beneficial? Would it be? And if so, what's the proper venue? Is it a subcommittee or something else totally? So, like a town council creating the committee. So, I would like for you all to think about that, because it would help. At least it would help me definitely too, because it's just a check. It's a two things before I cede the floor. It's an opportunity to have these discussions continually in the public forum. The planning board, they can be tied up in applications or other things that require their attention. We have a dedicated body that talks about these long-range objectives. I think it would add a lot of value to the town.
So the focus, as I'm hearing, would be implementation of the master plan?
Yes, and then Yes, exactly. Yeah. Implementation, and yes, we'll just leave it there. Yeah.
Art, is there a process for this, or is it just something that the planning board can
They
decide?
can just, yeah, they can make a subcommittee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a limit to how many members?
No. You can make
Because
it
your
work.
idea is that they would be having meetings in public session.
Correct.
So it wouldn't matter as
Yep.
far as numbers. They would be publicly noticed meetings.
Yeah, so the idea is to bring other folks, the planning board, who they want on the committee as well. So it'd be other folks in town, other board members, committee members, commission members.
Are we, what's the cadence for revising the master plan going forward? I know we talked about this at one point early on, but if you could just kind of rehash, because talking about kind of revisiting that, is this something that, like, try to gauge the frequency and all
Yeah,
that?
so in the past, it's never, like, from my understanding and my past experience in other municipalities, the master plan is referenced occasionally. As you're making, if you're going through planning board decisions, or, if you're trying to fit a project into something, you go to the master plan. What I would like this, and I think this whole exercise we were going through, is this document is being used every single day in conversations. I think we heard this from the Charter Commission, we're hearing this from CIP Committee, and I think this body as well, the Plan Board, is the master plan needs to be more in our lives, needs to be more present. So having this subcommittee kind of bringing that conversation to the fore in these public discussions, I think would be beneficial and actually achieve the goals that the town wants at this point in time.
Could you see that subcommittee as engaging with the different stakeholders or the people that actually act on some of these action items? Because this is a big list, and I know it's going to probably be a challenge for this board to, like, stay on top of every single goal on every single chapter. So would you see the subcommittee as being able to kind of engage and see where they're at on this and provide some of that? I don't call it oversight, but
It's just in light of that, so the end plan will actually have the entity responsible
Correct.
or designated responsible party, whether it's council, planning board, arts, culture commission, whoever. And then is the committee kind of the oversight to say, hey, quarterly, what? Because also the priorities in time frame, we talked about
Right.
that these spreadsheets for master plan, chapters
yeah.
would have these additional columns to identify who's the lead, what's the timing, the priority of accomplishing. And that's where we've lacked, is always the follow-up.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as being a challenge for us to stay on top of all that as a board right now, especially if applications start becoming busier. So yeah, I see some charm to that for sure.
So it really is kind of more of a master plan implementation oversight committee
Yeah,
or coordination committee.
coordination, but yeah.
But, good point. Okay, any more discussion on this at that point this time? Or questions from Bart?
Did you have an idea of like how big it should be, or like?
I don't think you want too big, because you can always invite people to the discussion. So the board can be, I would say, a good group is 5 to 7. I'd say it's a good size group. I mean, that could be determined, but as conversations occur, you can invite folks to those conversations, like to participate in those meetings.
You might get more
Sure.
community
Yeah.
involvement.
Right.
That then would maybe be kind of some, legacy planning for different boards, because they
Yeah.
might have different interests. And
Yeah, it's a good recruitment opportunity.
so I think there's support for that.
Cool.
Agree?
Yep.
Okay.
To be continued.
To be continued. We'll have a full plate first and second quarter for next year.
Yeah, I think so.
But maybe not a lot of heavy lifting on the planning board end, but on AI end. Committee reports, Jeff?
We meet Thursday, and this board met after the commission last month, so we haven't met since last, and I didn't review the agenda yet, actually. to be honest, so.
So has the wetlands permit come in on New Road to the Conservation Commission?
That will be discussed.
Okay, but so it's not been, it's not,
Not yet, it will be at this meeting.
okay, the upcoming
Yep.
meeting, so you're report on that.
Yep.
Okay. Jean?
Nothing.
Yeah, so just reading through my notes real quick. So Soul Smart was a company that was doing free evaluations. Basically opportunities for solar in the community, like specifically town-owned projects. We gave them a kind of a list of properties that had high energy usage. So the notion is we're offsetting the town electricity cost by having their own electricity. So Soul Smart was offering free evaluations toward till the end of the year. So we were engaging with them. We haven't gotten the results yet back for that. So hopefully we don't have a meeting this month. So next month we'll kind of have an idea of if there's any kind of advantageous projects, whether it be somehow in the properties of the school, DPW, fire station, some of those bigger generators, police station, town hall, stuff like that. So again, it's looking at ways to basically use solar to offset electricity costs and reduce the costs by the town through that. So see what comes of that. And for community power, since the Energy Environment Committee is actually I learned this the other meeting, is the town designated kind of overseer of that for the town, reporting to town council. So looks like one of the big things is we're trying to look at amending the process for renewing the refresh, as they call it. So basically every 6 months, I believe they come and do a refresh on the people in the town and add people as they add buildings. They basically say, here's community power, we want to enroll you, so you can opt out if you don't want it. That's a way for them to gain, obviously, a consumer base, offsetting the cost.
Is it still an automatic enrollment unless you opt out?
They get noticed, yes, but that's only for new customers. So like when we add units, right, and they come online, then every 6 months they do a review of who's new. Okay, we send the notice, we're going to enroll you unless you opt out. Once you opt out, though, they don't get re-noticed. We're looking at basically amending that to where we can have a little bit more say on how often that occurs, or more likely just we're not going to do the renewal this period for whatever reason. Maybe we hold off. Probably not going to ever be exercised, but we're looking at kind of what control we have over that implementation every 6 months.
If I could answer, if you have solar, you cannot opt in, is that?
Because you're
That was the-
backfeeding the grid.
Hmm?
Because you're backfeeding the grid.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how that works. So yeah, look at that, and I think the other report we got was it seems like words are escaping me. The big community power, not Newmarket, but
The Community Power Coalition.
yeah, coalition. I was trying to what's the coalition? That's what I was looking for. Looks like their financials are better. They were their financials weren't great. It seems like they're getting better. So hopefully sometime in the next, I don't know if it'll be the next period or the period after that, when they have to reassess their rates, hopefully those will come back closer to what Eversource is. Because right now I think we're 2 cents a kilowatt hour more than Eversource.
And when it started, we were,
We were a little bit cheaper. I thought I
it
remember.
was cheaper,
Yeah,
that's
it
why
was
the
cheaper.
changeover.
But I think they expanded too quickly at the rates they had agreed to, so they're basically losing money because they were contracted into rates that their introductory rates were very good, almost too good. But it seems like they're getting better at that. So I think long term should work out in our favor. But for right now, we're just kind of the wait and see, let them get kind of their footing. It's kind of the approach we've been looking at. Most towns are kind of in the same boat. If that changes, we'll reevaluate in the future. So that was kind of the big topic, is community power.
Bill, Jamie, many appointments here, right? Yeah.
No.
Slid that in.
Yeah.
Out there on the chairs. Bart,
Yeah.
any updates?
Today I was in Concord, received an L-Chip award.
Oh,
Nice.
70,000 for the
that's
Rosa.
for Rosa.
For Rosa.
Congratulations.
Yep. And the one we're waiting on now is the move vote. So we anticipate hearing from them soon. And so stay tuned to that. let's see, warrant articles at town council, majority, so some interesting one is stormwater planning or for the Shanda Park area. So it's basically 100% forgiveness for planning, so basically surveying and whatnot. So they apply for that clean water. So but we have to borrow, so it's an authorization to borrow. So but it's 100% forgiveness. The Rosa warrant article, not Pat, but town council sent it to budget committee. I misspoke. So that went through as well, and that's for 145,000. And then there was
And that's to raise and appropriate.
to raise and appropriate. Yep. And then I think there was another one from Sean, and then also a stormwater for on Cushing Road. Yep. So that was moved forward as well.
That Scott raised a good question that we discussed. How are we gonna educate people on the need of that?
The Great Bay one.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. There are efforts to do that, so there will be outreach. So, and overall discussion on that too. But so yes, that and those are the major things that happened.
Sir, did we have a TRC meeting since last meeting?
I think we had it last meeting, right? Before last meeting.
Was it before last meeting?
It was, I
'Cause
think.
remember you talked about it at the.
I don't remember
Just
exactly when it was.
before,
It was just before.
Just before.
Can we
Did a
discuss
report
that?
come out of
Sure,
that?
yeah.
What were we supposed to get?
Yeah.
Were we supposed to get like a report or minutes or?
Oh, it's the report coming after. So it hasn't finished. They're coming back. So the idea
Oh, you don't
is
get you don't get like minutes or report.
no. So this would be the report afterwards. So once it's concluded, we'll have the final report. So basically there was a discussion. There was a lot of issues raised, and they're gonna go and address those, and then come back to the TRC for further review. So the idea is to get to a point where the TRC is more or less content, and then it moves forward to plan board. And then, that letter will identify existing issues, and that's what the board will have, once they come forward with an application.
So how many times has TRC met?
Once.
Okay. And is Underwood involved with review?
Yes.
Because they'll usually do the.
Yep. Underwood and also Mark West, Environmental.
Oh, third party.
Yep.
Do you have any idea the total number of comments?
Total number of comments?
Pages of comments? Or
Did
Yeah,
Underwood?
Underwood, there's probably like 3 or 4 pages of
Yeah.
comments. So, yeah. Back and forth. I mean, if everyone wants, it's public record, so if you guys want it, I can forward it. So I know you're on it, so. yeah.
Are they being posted? Like, do you have,
The meetings
yeah.
or the comments?
Just the comments?
No,
What are
they haven't been
applications
posted,
like?
but they're available if anyone out there wants them.
Is Mark West just reviewing the wetland lines? Is that what his
Yeah, and
scope is?
wetlands, and then they identified some other wetlands. So there's some couple isolated wetlands through there, and then he had some comments on some of the grading as well, proposed.
have you heard back from the developer?
No, but I have heard from additional support from a traffic engineer. So they were looking for data. So it appears that they might be doing a traffic study.
When would you foresee them coming to the board with an application?
A few months, if that. I mean, there's a lot of comments and some kind of key issues that need to be addressed, I think, prior to moving forward. So I could see this lasting a few months, the process.
So how do we see a permit at the Conservation Commission on Thursday? They're gonna have to like.
That's a
resubmit
great
again,
question,
or
Jeff.
they're gonna have to-
So they filed for their state wetland permit already, it's minimum impact. So
If it
they,
changes.
what changes? Well,
No, if it changes.
if it changed, that's my question.
That's a good comment.
Yep. So that's why I have problems with the issue. I have issues with this process because they're filing something that's not going to be what ends up coming back to the board, I imagine. So I imagine they have to go back and refile, amend.
And they'll explain that to us when they, are they even going to come to the meeting to
Yep.
talk about it?
They're coming.
Unless it's less of an impact.
Sure. Right.
That never happens.
It can be less.
They're smart, they would.
Yeah.
Place that's less acceptable.
Yeah.
More
True.
impactful, but less.
Say that out loud.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I meant the.
They could reduce the number of units and reduce the impact, but
Yeah.
that ain't
So
gonna happen.
it'll probably be a couple more things. So I imagine the amendment process that goes back to Concom for that state permit. Then they still have to cover the conservation for the local ordinance. So it's another visit to the Conservation Commission.
Does that trigger AOT? Is that a big enough project? Must be.
Yeah, it's over an acre.
No, AOT is.
Yeah, altering terrain.
100,000.
100 Oh, yeah.
So is there another go around with the TRC before it comes back to the full planning board?
Oh, yeah. Probably a couple.
Crazy that they're even.
Because then TRC will report to the board
Correct.
as part of the
Hmm.
public hearing process.
Yep.
They just continue with the wetland permits, they probably already paid the fee.
Yeah, I don't know at that level. I mean, I'll have to contact DES and see what that process would look like. It's a separate process.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Curious, have you heard anything about the opening of the new elderly housing?
Oh, yeah, report on that, that was a
Sorry,
great day.
yeah. Yeah, we had an open house, I forget when in November. It was sometime in late November. Yeah, it was great. It was, oh yeah, so an interesting aspect. The architect was there, and I think this is a great success story, especially for future development. So the whole intent with their model was to make it a passive house, so really energy efficient. And he was very skeptical based on the design it went through that would ever achieve that. And lo and behold, he did the numbers, and it actually meets the standards. So they actually have, that's a passive house based on that type of architecture, where he was saying you'd usually have to have like this brutalist style boxes to achieve such a certification. So this is an example of how buildings don't have to look like that. They can look like what we have down there. So I thought that was pretty great to hear, that it can achieve that energy efficiency standard and also fit into the community much better. So
Yeah, that's a case where the neighborhood input helped a lot.
Absolutely.
That's a much better building than
Yeah.
what was
Yeah, and I
originally
think that in
approved.
speaking
when
with the
pretty
developer,
submitted.
they, in retrospect, he appreciated that, as did the attorney.
Mhm.
Spoke with ethics after. It was a good turnout too, of like New Hampshire housing people.
Yeah.
The lenders that were involved, which were
Right.
extensive, and just positive comments. And a couple of the abutters showed up.
Yep.
When do people start moving in?
They
That-
have.
They have.
Oh, they have?
Yeah, they were moving in the Monday, I think, is
Yep.
that a Thursday?
I haven't seen a
or
car there
Wednesday?
yet, so that's,
Yeah.
They were starting
Good
to move
sign.
in on
Yeah,
Monday.
they're advertising it.
Oh, cool.
They got trucks there in the morning.
It still is,
Yeah.
it appeared to be finished,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm sure they got punch lists. So.
What house is this? I totally.
Elderly housing, before you get to Great Road.
Huh.
Right.
Yeah, it's on the right-hand side.
White
Are
and
they
gray.
all one bedroom?
They're all one bedroom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
30 of them.
affordable housing, so
Yep.
but it's nice too, they have an on-site manager, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, that will contribute, I think, to the maintenance aspects of it.
Great.
All good?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, well, then with that, I will take a motion to adjourn with happy holiday wishes for everyone.
Yep, I ditto on that, and I make a motion that we adjourn.
second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
All right.
Right.
Aye.
See you next year.
Ed-